Welcome to the Pantheon. If you've not been here today, I'm your host for today and tomorrow here at the Pantheon. My name is Martin Albarda. In 1999, I was on an airplane with my family on the way to Tokyo, where I was to live the next 4 years and where my job was to help build an integrated marketing communications plan for Coca-Cola, which was at that time my employer. So I was in the very fortunate position to help create and implement a World Cup, and then I got to do it again in 2005, 2006 when I was with Coca-Cola in Germany. I spent overall 10.5 years with Coke, so it's with great pleasure that I'm introducing a session that has Coca-Cola in the name today. And it also has somebody that I used to work with way back when. This is a rather unique session. It is a rather unique year because we have a World Cup coming up in a country that is probably the place where football was invented and where football is certainly celebrated in a way that we always look at with great jealousy. So we have the session today with 3 participants. We have Misha, Sher, who is Director of Partnerships at Mediacom. And we have Javier Sanchez Lamelas, who's VP of Marketing at the Coca-Cola company in Europe, based out of London. And the session is going to be moderated by Bill Wise, who is CEO of Mediaocean.
Thank you. So, as everyone knows, the World Cup is the single largest media event in the world. In 2010, in Brazil, the World Cup was watched by 3.2 billion people worldwide, which is a little over 46% of the world's population. On top of that, it was broadcast in 204 countries across 245 channels. The World Cup is so large, I think they're inventing countries. Who would have thought there were 204 countries? When you think about executing a global advertising campaign at this level of a scale, obviously there are geographical complexities around that. In the past 4 years, on top of that, the world has shifted in that the viewing isn't just going to be on linear television sets. It's across set-top boxes, it's across online video, it's across mobile devices, it's across tablets. So when thinking about executing a campaign at this level of complexity, we thought it'd be best to bring on stage one of the world's largest and most complex marketers in the Coca-Cola company, as well as one of the largest agencies in Mediacom. So, Misha and Javier.
Let's go.
I'm going to pass it off to Javier, who runs marketing across Europe for the Coca-Cola company. We have a treat for us in that he will be sharing with us creative that the Coca-Cola company will be using in this year's World Cup. So without further ado, Javier.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. I see, by the way, you are enjoying water. I'm going to enjoy Coke. I guess the first question we need to answer is that one. Why? Why does the Coca-Cola company sponsor the FIFA World Cup? And I think that is at the very core of the understanding of how things work and how we do a global campaign. You may not know this, but the Coca-Cola has been associated with football way before FIFA World Cup. We've been in stadiums around the world, sponsoring teams and the football itself, including grassroots programs all around the world. Our relationship with FIFA started already at the very inception of the FIFA championship back in 1950, and we continue with them in a very informal way until we formalized it back in 1974. So it's a pretty long story, the one that we have with football. And the reason why, the primary reason why we are supporting FIFA World Cup is because we share the same values. And when you go down to what it is, it's basically about togetherness and universality. And I think there are few things that are so close to both football and Coca-Cola as togetherness and universality. Maybe the Olympic Games, but we're also sponsorizing that one. We feel that is exactly what brings value to our brand. And that's why this time the campaign is around the World Cup. We want to invite everyone to the World Cup. That is the central idea of this year's campaign for the Coca-Cola company. Everyone is literally invited. Now, as you said, it's a phenomenal magnifier. These are data from the previous World Cup. I didn't want to guess what this World Cup will be all about, but it's a phenomenal loudspeaker for brands. If you do it correctly, it brings over 2 billion viewers. I mean, you mentioned 3 billion viewers. Probably this World Cup, that number will be surpassed with a huge online repercussion. So it's about the values that we share, and it's about the loudspeaker that it offers to brands like Coca-Cola. Now, how? That is the second question. And I think that's, by the way, for those of you that are in marketing, these are the two most important questions that you need to answer when you put together a brief. Is the why and the how, because the what is quite easy once you get these two together. This is what we've done. We believe on the power of the online communication. I'll give you some examples, but we also believe in the power of grassroots programs, of bringing the trophy down to the different cities around the world. We flew a plane carrying on the trophy of the FIFA World Cup, and we brought the trophy to remote places. 85 markets. I mean, the plane has been traveling around the world and reached over 400,000 retail activations. 50 presidents from around the world lifted the trophy tour. We had over $70 million worth of media value just along the trophy tour. And we produce movies. We produce movies with people like Pelé in France. We produce movies like the one I'm going to share with you right away. You will see that those are not the typical super productions that you expect from a mega brand. These are stories that are just down to earth. We did it with a very small crew, with a very small budget, and we wanted to bring the stories that we found around the local communities as we brought the trophy tour into the cities. Let me play one from Bosnia. I don't know if you know this, but in Bosnia, the team qualified for first time ever for the FIFA World Cup. And we decided to bring the trophy tour to your neighbor country. And the story is just fascinating, what we found down there. Look at this.
Ja se zovem Predrag Pašić. Bivši sam fudbaler. 1982. godine sa timom Jugoslavije sudjelovao sam na FIFA svjetskom prvenstvu u Španiji. Bili smo sjajan tim. Sanjali smo da osvojimo taj trofej. Iako ga nismo osvojili, taj san nas je zbližio. A onda, 10 godina kasnije, počeo je rat. Kada su počeli crtati linije razdvajanja, ja sam počeo crtati linije koje bi nas spajale. U sred rata osnovao sam školu fudbala Bubamara za svu djecu Sarajeva.
Linije fronta su bile jako blizu, tako da je prelazak preko ovog mosta bio opasan. Ali mi smo ga svakodnevno prelazili da bi stigli na trening, jer je to bila najvažnija stvar na svijetu.
Umjesto da ih učimo koje nacionalnosti, učio sam ih kako da dodaju loptu jedni drugima, da budu tim. Danas ta djeca su postala sjajni ljudi. Njih 40 su sada profesionalni fudbaleri. A jedan od njih će predstavljati Bosnu i Hercegovinu na FIFA svjetskom prvenstvu u Brazilu.
Dobar dan, momci! Jesmo spremni? Jesmo! Ajmo!
Za vrijeme rata ovaj tunel je bio dobro sklonište. Danas ih vodim kroz taj isti tunel, jer sam ih pripremio veliko iznenađenje. Coca-Cola je donijela FIFIn trofej svjetskog prvenstva na isto mjesto gdje je Bubamara počela. Objasnio sam im da trofej u ruke mogu uzeti samo šampioni i samo ako nastavimo igrati zajedno, jednog dana ćemo ga podići. To je moj san.
Dobro.
So this is just an example of the values that the brand portrays and how we're using the FIFA World Cup sponsorship. As you see, it's a quite different spin from what other brands are doing. Now, to the marketing side and to the media side, just the final slide. We launched the campaign on April 2nd. So just a few days ago, and I got very excited to be with you here today, just a few days after we launched the campaign. And everything started with an email from my boss in Atlanta saying, April 2nd, we go. And we started launching the campaign, starting in New Zealand and going all the west until reaching America. Here today, we've got over 400 million impressions on the FIFA World Cup campaign as we unfold the program and counting. We've been launching the campaign just digitally. We haven't yet put any single of our messages on TV. So back to the previous Midway Brown presentation, right now, so far, 100% of our media investment is in digital. 90% positive comments, and the usual 10% suspect of not so positive comments as well. So this is in 5 minutes, 7 minutes speech of what we're doing on the campaign.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So while we're teeing up Misha's content, I have one question for you. As in preparing for this and viewing all the creatives that you sent over, I found it interesting that unlike most marketers for the FIFA World Cup, you're not utilizing current football stars in any of your creative. You want to talk about why that is?
Well, we do, actually. We use it in different ways. I mean, we just filmed one of the movies in France, similar to the Bosnia one with Pelé, for instance. But more than the celebrities, what we use is the meaning of the celebrity, if you allow me to say so. What the celebrity represents, what the brand stands for. And I think Pelé is another beautiful symbol. It's a brand. It's a person, but it's also a brand that signifies universality, fair play, and is one of the biggest idols of all time for any football lover. So yes, we do. We're just careful when we select with whom we marry, as everybody else.
Are we teed up for Misha's content? Good.
في الكورة أي حاجة ممكن تحصل.
أنا كريم سمير من كوكاكولا. النهارده احنا واخدين عربية الفرحة ورايحين ندور على ناس بتحب الكورة بجد. قررنا إن احنا ننزل في المطرة دي عشان اللي نزل يلعب كورة في الجو ده أكيد يستاهل مننا مفاجأة كبيرة جدا.
المفاجأة كانت مستنياهم في ملعب تاني.
التاريخ ده هيفضل في حياتكم كلها. ممكن تعتبر ان هي اقوى مفاجأة هتحصل لك في حياتك.
الأكبر إنهم كسبوا رحلة لكأس العالم فيفا في البرازيل. يا ترى الفرحة اللي جاية فين؟ كأس العالم لكل العالم. كوكاكولا، افرح.
So, Misha, we talk about the glory of running a global campaign for a global marketer, but obviously the execution is highly localized. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the buying process overall?
Yeah, that's quite. Yeah, it's not easy because obviously World Cup is a global property. Yet the markets, you go to Southeast Asia or you go to Africa or Europe, very, very different. Have very different business needs. So we have, from a central level, we have created some best practices that we share across different markets, but it's down to the teams in each particular market to understand what the business needs are and make sure that we plan across all the different touch points in all those different markets, which, if you compare it to, let's say, the last World Cup, there weren't as many touch points as there are today. So that makes the planning process and the execution process much more complex because content is becoming much more important. That's been reflected in the way that we've developed as an agency. We have a huge content division now, as well as growing our SEO and social and so on. All of these divisions are supposed to they're supposed to reflect the way that the planning and execution process has developed across different markets and make sure that we're able to execute for Coca-Cola across the world wherever we manage the relationship.
So it's interesting. I mean, you both mentioned kind of the differences from 4 years ago. Earlier today, we heard Steve King from Zenith talk about how important mobile is. Can you talk a little bit about what's changed over the last 4 years and how you're either embracing mobile, complementing all your assets with mobile?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now we have, again, what we've done over the last couple of years is we've grown specialist divisions within the agency to reflect the fact that for one, mobile has really grown. And what it means that we have people within the agency understand how people interact with with particular content or particular technology. And the way we roll that out is we'll work with Coke, and what Coke want from us is they're not interested so much in what's owned or what's paid. They want disproportionately more earned, right? So when they come to us and we have an asset, for instance, like Pele, the first thing they say is, what can we do with Pele to make sure that it gets our affiliation with the World Cup communicated, but at the same time really emotionally connects us to the audience and gets them to share this content. And that was the idea behind what we've done with Pele, because it's not about, as Javier was saying, it's not about Pele being the ambassador, the whole campaign being around Coca-Cola, because that's not how it's done. But in a particular market where we knew the audience would really get behind this, and it was all about, actually the whole content was about going around, picking up random 10 people who were playing football that night, surprising them, and creating some sort of content and rolling it out across different mediums where people would share it. And the results were quite unbelievable.
So Javier, I mean, Misha talked about paid, owned, and earned. How do you think about, how is Coca-Cola kind of evolving? Because the earned piece has really become viral. And the thought of taking creatives and making them go viral is incredibly efficient. How do you think about creative and how that interacts with media buying?
Yeah. So I guess the challenges that marketeers have today is that the world out there is changing faster than what the companies can absorb. So put it differently, the change out there is faster than the change inside.
Sure.
And that is a very complicated balance to achieve. We need to get, I guess, at least the recipe that I'm trying to use with my team is always try to go with the puck is going to be, which, sometimes we we hit it right, but some other times it's complicated. We are betting strongly for earned media, but we are also putting significant amount of resources on own media. If you go to Latin America today, when I was just heading marketing for Latin America for 6 years, you will see, for instance, that we've launched 11 radio stations, Coca-Cola FM stations.
Wow.
And I think last figures that I've got from our own media channel is 15 million users a month. So, that gives you an idea on how much the company is shifting. I mean, 5-10 years ago, that was completely unthinkable. So it was a completely different business.
So 4 World Cups ago, where a massive amount of your budget was going to traditional TV,
Yeah.
and you were measuring that based on a GRP or just massive reach. How do you measure a campaign such as this at a global scale?
Well, I mean, if you go to the ultimate measurement, at the end of the day, we all get paid, at least in the Coca-Cola company, is the same. Goes for many of you for the incremental business that we deliver. So the check at the end of the month, the bonus at the end of the year comes from the incrementality on the revenues and in the bottom line. So that hasn't changed. When it comes to campaign, we like it or not, ultimate brand indicator is favorite brand. I mean, how our brand stays relevant. 100 and almost 20 years, a brand still remains relevant.
Sure.
And loved in the hearts of people. And then, I mean, a couple of World Cups ago, it was just about relevance of the creative and TRPs. Now you need just to fragment all that and make sure that you are touching the hearts of people through the different screens that we saw in the previous presentation. But there is no more magic than that. It's just making sure that you are at the right time with the right message on all those screens.
Sure. Misha, quick question for you. When we think about advertising and managing advertising campaigns, again, a few World Cups ago, planning was very separate from media buying execution. And in fact, in many cases, they were 2 separate agencies.
Yeah.
Now, because everything's real time and media is shifting real time and social goes viral, one would imagine kind of planning and buying have to be together in an iterative process. Can you talk a little bit?
No, they absolutely have to go hand in hand because, as Javier mentioned, everything's happening so quick. You have to think ahead, and you have to understand, obviously, the landscape. And the biggest difference is there are a lot more touch points now than there used to be even 2 years ago, a year ago, and that's only going to continue. So when we're planning and buying, we have to think about all these different touch points. And what makes it even more complex is the fact that we have to think about unique content that's going to be simultaneously executed across all these touch points to make sure that we ultimately deliver for a particular campaign or a particular market. So it's not just we're going to buy inventory here or we're going to plan here. It's about saying this is what we need. This is what we need to achieve in this market. There's many different platforms now, a lot of digital platforms. We have to make sure that we're planning for all of those and for all the messaging all at the same time. That's the only way that we can, and at the same time be able to make changes in real time as well. Because as consumers are interacting with content, we have to be able to adapt and be able to drive that forward.
Great. So unfortunately, we're out of time, but I have 2 last questions, and they'll be very quick, just because we have one of the world's largest marketers and their agency here. I had to go here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how tough of a client is Javier? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a job is Mediacom doing at executing your marketing objectives?
I would say 10.
Wow.
Otherwise, I would not be working with them. So that I warranty.
No, saying, look, it's a privilege for us to work with what we consider one of the best, if not the best, marketers in the world. We're continuously picking up more business, so I'm guessing that's a reflection of the work that we're doing. But it's great because we always want to be working with the best, with the forward-thinking companies on campaigns like the World Cup and Olympics. So it looks like they're quite happy with our work, and long may that continue.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming to the session. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.